Hello all, hopefully you're with us. Hopefully we've clicked enough buttons and entered the world at the right time. It should now be 7 p.m. for our Thursday night natter. Now, as always, you know this is only my third or fourth one of these. I do love it if you will just say hello and let me know that you're with us as soon as possible so that I know that everything's working, because I still have no faith, not in the technology, but my personal ability. There's so many buttons to push and so many bits that I can do wrong. Me and Pete was just having minor heart attack over what we was doing and didn't think we'd got it right. So it's nice to know if you're with us, so please say hello. Oh, we've got an Alison with us. Good evening, Alison. Hello, Wendy. Lovely to have you with us as well. Now, before we start, I've just rescued this chair from the other room and it's a bit low. So please forgive me while I raise myself up a bit, because that was very uncomfortable. So let's have a little look. What are we doing this evening? We are introducing our brand new Floral Wonder collection. Yay! As you may know, we did this a couple of weeks ago and we was heading to Create and Craft with it. But Create and Craft has sadly been a little bit quiet on the Western Front at the moment. So we're not too sure what the plan there is going to be or what's happening. And we couldn't make you wait any longer. So we wanted to bring it to you and make it available to you. But the best bit about this is here at Jamie Rodgers Crafts, we have got the most fantastic stockists. And I mean this genuinely. We try to work very closely with our stockists and we try to be as much of a team as we possibly can. And to me, that's important. You all know that I've sort of had shops and still have many shops in different formats and have had for many years, including the wonderful world of candy that Pete works in. And it's important to us that our suppliers work with us to make things run smoothly. And to me, that's an important bit that we do for our stockists. So as of 7 p.m. this evening, you should start to see our stockists announcing that the products are with them and ready for you to purchase. Now, if our stockists are watching, which I'm hoping a few of them might be, please pop a comment or a link to the website, your website, of course, in our comments so that they can go and find where these products are, because we would hate for you to miss out on them. And I'll try and give you a shout out as we go through. Now, let's have a little look and see who we've got saying hello this evening. There's lots of you with us. That's lovely. Thank you. We've got Alison and Wendy. I mentioned you two. Lovely to have you here. Sandra, lovely to have you with us. Madeline, Maureen, Angie, Kim, Carol, Sharon. New comments I can't quite get to. Here at last, sorry for missing the beginning. You haven't missed a lot, honestly. I haven't stopped waffling. And evening, Linda. Now, Pete, bit rude. I'm noticing that as many hellos for me there are for you too. So yeah, this is a bit rude. I don't know about this. Yeah, new star of the show. So for those of you who have not joined us before, let's click some buttons. We have got Peter with us this evening, and Peter is here to make sure when I forgot something, which will happen at least once, I will have forgot something, he will go in search of it for me and find it. And equally, he is here to make sure that when I forget to read all of the comments, he will hook them out and make sure that I don't miss them. So if I don't answer your question right away, it's because I struggle to do two things at once, but Pete's on hand to help us with that. Lovely to have you with us, Linda and Joanne. Lovely to have you, or Joanna, sorry. Lovely to have you all with us. Evening, Alison. So yeah, hopefully you've had a good day. Hopefully we're catching you at a good time to introduce the Floral Wonder collection. And hopefully we're going to give you a bit of inspiration along the way as well. We've got for you lots of samples, new samples from the design team as well. And we've got some demos that we're going to try and fit in. Normally I tell you I'll be with you for an hour. I won't set a boundary tonight. We'll see how we go and see if you're still with us. If you get bored and fall asleep, then I'll possibly leave you to it. But hopefully we'll keep you entertained and give you a bit of inspiration along the way. So many of you will have watched the live we did a couple of weeks ago where we really stripped down this collection and looked at it in lots of detail. And I don't want to sort of skip over it too quickly and let any of you who haven't seen it not get a good idea of it. But equally, there is that live if you want to see more details, and I'll try and link that at the end of the video or the end of the live in the comments so you can go back to that one. And something else to mention, we are now putting these lives onto our YouTube channel as well. They're not live on YouTube, mostly because I don't know how to do that. But they are uploaded to YouTube in the coming days. So again, those ones that we mentioned in the previous ones are already on our YouTube channel if you would like to watch them on YouTube. I know some of you can get bigger pictures and get it on TV on YouTube, where you can't always do that with Facebook. I can't advise you on this because me and technology still don't get on. We've had a big falling out, but hopefully through this I can help you in this sense. Good evening, I'm just scrolling now. Good evening, Catherine. Good evening, Jean. Good evening, Margaret. And good evening, Debbie. Lovely to see you with us. Joanna, just using your Essential Butterfly Collection fluted squares and some other bits for a sympathy card. Well, I'm sorry you're having to make a sympathy card, but very lovely to hear that you're using them items. That sounds like a beautiful card. And please don't forget to share it with us on our Saturday check-in if I don't get to see it beforehand. So I've already done a lot of waffling. We're already 5 minutes in and I haven't yet shown you any products. So let's delve in and have a little look. Now, don't forget, this is not a live shopping event. We are not doing that. This is about you seeing the products and then hopefully searching out one of our incredible stockists so that you can go and support our stockists, which is really important to us. I'm going to try and throw something at Pete that isn't rehearsed here. Can you go onto our website and add the stockists list page, link to that page into the comments? Can you do that? I don't know how easy that is, but we'll see if Pete can do that. Guys. Give it a go. Technology is always for learning. Mandy's online. Oh, evening, Mandy. Oh, I haven't seen a Mandy. Have I seen a Mandy yet? I haven't seen a Mandy. Good evening, Mandy. Sorry. Oh, there's Mandy. Mandy from Affordable Crafting is with us, and I have a feeling she might be on a lunch break. She, of course, is one of our incredible stockists, so please make sure you check out the products with Mandy, as well as all the other stockists that hopefully Pete will get us a link to so you can see them. So let's delve in and have a little look, shall we? Let's go for our first item. Bring you to the right camera so we can see what we're looking at. We are having a little look at, please excuse the glare, we are having a little look at stamps to begin with. So our Floral Wonder collection really does centre around quite a few different stamps, and this is the first one that I really love and have a feeling you might fall in love with. Now, normally we don't talk prices, but I will tell you the recommended retail price for our DL stamps is $11.99. We always leave this down to our stockists to pick the prices that they need to, but of course that's to give you an idea. If you're watching and you're not familiar with the brand, you're looking around the $11.99 mark. So with our Floral Melody stamp, this is one of our pattern match stamps. So you can take this and you can stamp it off into any direction you would like to. That means that the pattern is perfectly matched on all 4 sides. So if you wish to, you could be stamping scrapbook pages, you could be doing gift bags, you could do wrapping paper, you could do home decor, you could, in honesty, do your walls if you so wish to. The only limitation to what you're doing is the size of canvas you're going to be working on, the size of product you want to stamp onto. Now, of course, just because you can go large doesn't mean you have to. So a card here done by Lynn showing us how we could heat emboss in white on vellum. Another lovely card here showing you another one of the stamps that's coming up shortly from our lovely rose design. And this is something quite important, actually. The designs you're going to see through the Floral Melody background matching with the focal stamps we'll be looking at shortly. So if you do want to build up your focal points to match in with your backgrounds, you're going to have that ability to do so. That's quite important to me. Now, of course, we can stamp this in more subtle colours. This one's using our Piggy Pink ink over our Decadent Ivory cardstock. We've also got the script stamp coming up over our lovely Cosmos flowers, which were in the previous release that we launched. Ian's done a lovely card here showing you how you could stamp your background and then focus in on different patches using the nesting dies to go with them. Very nice. A beautiful card here done by Lynn showing you one of the, I don't know what you call these. If anyone knows, put it in the comments because I'm not too sure what I should refer to this as. We could cheat. Lynn might have told us on the back. I think this is called a diorama. Well, sort of. Well, I agree, Lynn. We'll go with diorama. I should have read that before asking, sorry. But yeah, a diorama style card. But again, breaking down the pattern between the layers and stamping in 2 areas, bringing in the happy birthday stamp we'll see shortly, and of course bringing in our different nesting dies to go with it. And I actually really like Lynn's colour choice of card here. We've got the rose petal pink and the seashell blue, which looks really lovely. Now, this is a card that I think is pretty lovely as well. This one is done again by Lynn, but bringing in our lovely kaleidoscope die set. And Lynn has taken the segments from in that set, stamped out the background first, sorry, and then die cut them and then pieced it back together, which I thought was really, really clever. Reminded me a bit, and I don't know why, of Laura Ashley. I don't know if you'll agree with that, but it gives me Laura Ashley vibes. And I thought it was very cool, very clever idea. Of course, you can just use this as a standard stamp and just create lovely DL stamped images for DL slimline cards. That works brilliantly. But of course, we can team it up and do bigger bits with it. And this is one of my favourites that I did. And I'll talk to you more about these circular dies later on. But actually stamping it twice, die cutting out the circles, and then layering those over the top, I felt worked quite nicely. So I'm going to pass this little lot off to Pete, who's going to bring in the next lot for me. And oh, and I've missed a sample Pete's pointing to, so let's bring this one in. This one's one of our little MDF tags. You're going to see a lot of tags going through tonight's samples. This is one little tag that I've stamped on and then coloured with alcohol markers because I find that's a really lovely effect. I'll keep the stamp and we'll come back to that later on as our collection. Now, I'm conscious that I'm seeing lots of movement on the old comments and I haven't answered many. So I'll let you digest that first one and I'll just pick up and see what I've missed and from where. Let's have a little look. Joanna, quick question. Romantic Rose coming back in stock soon. I think you might mean the Romantic Red Elite cardstock. We are working on it. I can only tell you honestly, we are working on it. The supplier we was purchasing our Elite card from is sadly no longer available, and we are sourcing it in a different manner. So there has been a couple of speed bumps in that road. I won't lie to you. So we're getting closer to getting back the Elite card that is sadly out of stock. But I can't give you an exact date today. But we're working on it. It's a blip that happened that we can't control, but we're trying to fix it. And hopefully, and I shouldn't tell you this, but hopefully there'll be more coming with it when it comes back. So watch this space and we'll tell you more as I can tell you more, I promise. Evening, Marianne, or Marion, sorry. I'm terrible at reading names, I'm sorry. Marion. Helen, good evening, Jamie and Peter. Looking forward to seeing all the new goodies again. Lovely to have you with us, thank you. Deborah, evening. Darren, evening. Hello, Sharon. Lovely to have you with us, May. Carol's finally sat down. That's nice to hear. Same here today. It's been chaos here. Absolutely chaos. All very good chaos. And so much going on behind the scenes that I can't wait to tell you about in the coming days and maybe weeks. But chaos. So yeah, I'll enjoy the rest and we'll have a natter. I like making those. Yeah, I like making the tags too. Lovely to have you with us, Tracy. Evening, Lynn. And I think I'm kind of up to date, but if I've missed you, I'm sorry. But let's delve in and look at the next product, shall we? So our next one we're going to look at, and this is really breaking down from our background stamp. So with our Floral Melody stamp, you're going to see the same flowers coming through. So this is our first focal stamp. And again, bringing you in sentiments and butterflies to work with it. But it is all about giving you that choice to stamp your background and then build up in the foregrounds with bigger imagery. These ones don't have matching dies to them. That is something we would like to do in the future and are again working on. But to be honest with you, this one is quite easy to trim out. And I'm going to jump forward a little bit in our samples to show you some done by Ian. Ian is our trimmer. He has been doing an amazing job at cutting these out and layering them. I really like this project. I felt it had so much depth and layers to it. And these are ones I didn't get to share with you last time because I hadn't quite got them yet. But you look at how Ian's stamped his sentiments, brought them in, added in mesh, brought in sort of little crochet elements, buttons, MDF tags, and built it all together. I thought that was a really lovely one. And again, having that flower in there really makes that pop and brings in that colour. We can, of course, do dinky cards with these. We can do sort of our lovely, I don't even know what you call them, but metallic cards. This one's done by Lynn, but I love it when we work on dark cardstock and then colour in metallics and let that sort of pop. I think that works really nicely. This is a more vintage tag that I did. I weren't overly pleased with how this one came out. It got a bit smudgy, but it gives you an idea and hopefully is a bit of a building point for a different concept. Another one done here on vellum, building up, colouring with an embossing tool on the back to make the white shading, and then inking, I believe, to do the backgrounds. One done by me, working with our lovely regal corners, putting those in the edges and then using that stamp as the main focal. And this one's a bit of a wow. Again, another one brought to us today by Ian. Not only has he cut them out, he's actually layered them as well. I don't know how well you're going to get to see that depth. He's also stamped over the top of the leaves as such, and done the same lattice stamp that we're going to get to see shortly, and then matched the leaves up to where the lattice is on the background. And he's brought in the same flowers from the next set we're going to be sharing with you, which is the borders and corners. So it really is building all together to make a really pretty card front. I really like that one. Another one here, I believe done by, oh, this one's done by Lynn. So this time she's stamped it, cut them out and put them into one of our circle dies I'll be sharing with you shortly. And again, using that Latin design in there as well. And another one by me, and I'll share with you the stencils to do that central part shortly. But again, we've got the best wishes and we've got the flowers brought in. And these, of course, are on top of our scalloped squares, which are our beautiful nesting dies. Then we move on. And we have now got the rose dice stamp set, sorry. And of course, the rose comes to us in the same background. So again, everything is tying together. You know I like it when this happens. I love it when everything matches. And again, giving you the ability to build up, focusing more on the rose, maybe for Valentine's, for anniversaries, for weddings. But yeah, giving you the other flowers to go all the way through the year is sort of my thought process. In with the rose, you get the main focal rose, you get the small rose, you get happy birthday with love and a little heart to sort of decorate around with as well. So a few samples this time. This one's from Lynn, bringing in that beautiful sort of antique rose or antique pink kind of rose, which is very pretty. Now this is a showstopper. I'm going to be honest with you here. This blew my little socks off. I'm very impressed with this. This was done by our lovely Lynn on our design team. And again, it's a project I'm not too sure what to call. Lynn does like to think outside the box and make these incredible things. So we have here a lovely little box, which has got its own little wrap round with ribbon that you can open this out and then reveal the inside here to the box. Now, for those of you that have been collecting the products over the time, you're going to spot different bits that you know already. We've got the decollage squares in the bottom here. We have got the kaleidoscope stencil being used throughout the green panels. We have got the texture paste being used around the edges of the panels. And then when we flick this right the way up here, then we've got our square frames, which we're going to be talking about shortly, our beautiful rose, and we've got our decolled edges and our stitched edges from our square collection. So much gone into this to make this beautiful, beautiful project. I really love that. I think that's such a showstopper. I wanted to share that with you. Then we've got another one here by Ian. So again, our little master trimmer's been in and he's been cutting out and layering. So not only has he cut round the roses for this one, he's also gone in and removed the rose head and built that up as well to give it a bit more depth. Focusing on this one, using just a small circle from our circle dies we'll talk about shortly, with our lovely rose in the centre of it. Another one done this time by Lynn, heat embossing in gold and colouring in. I believe she's used, let's have a little look. She's used some distress ink to go over the top of the roses to just tone them down at the tops and the bottoms. Hopefully you can see that shade difference on screen. It's a bit tricky to get that to be captured, but they're just a shade down over the top of the roses, which I thought was really lovely. Another one here done by Lynn, and this is something I really love. We always give you these tiny little stamps on these sheets, and I show you that tiny little heart. I don't know why, I never go to them, I never do, but it's really lovely, and that's the joyous bit of having a design team. They all work in different ways and do different bits, and Lynn has gone in and focused on that one, and not only used it in the background that you can see around the edges, she's also done it around the little tab here with the with love in the middle. You'll also notice our heart stencils with our lovely red, which it isn't called red, but I can't remember the name of our texture paste. Is it ruby red? Ruby red, the gemstones? It is, isn't it? Yeah, ruby red texture paste on the top there. Another one just done by me, very quickly coloured in with some alcohol markers on one of our layers. Another one this time, and I don't know how well you'll see it, but we've got a little bit of Latin script being used in the background. We have used the circle from the masks that we're going to be coming up to shortly, and we've used our rose stamp. And then another one here where I've focused more on the small rose and done that on the edges. This frame is really cool because these are the circle frames which are coming up and they fit so nicely into the circle foiled inkables. I really like that look, and I've stamped and coloured the rose in there with alcohol markers. And then another tag. This is one of our big beastie tags. These are our MDF tags, and I've stamped with the lattice, the script and the roses to create this effect. Now Peter has fallen behind and not bought me the next one. I know, he's on his little iPad over there. tapping away. But it can never be told off, not by me. So we'll go on and have a little look at the next one. Now, before we do, I've done two things now and I haven't checked my comments, have I? And I think...
and put some links to websites and then I've lost the comments.
Oh,
my intentions were good.
He's trying. We're learning.
Julie and Barry are on.
Julie and Barry are with us, are they? Love Craftless. It's not working.
If you want to pop a link on Julie, then
you're more than welcome to add a link. Every stockist, I would love one link from you to support you and to share with you. So please do pop a link on yourselves. Pete will carry on trying to fix this. We're only a little company. There's only just us two trying to work at this stage on these and trying to make it all happen. And neither of us are very tech savvy, but Pete will work his magic. But it's lovely to have you with us this evening, Julie. Lovely company, lovely store, lovely people to work with. So really lovely to have you here. Now, have I missed anybody in our hellos or any questions anywhere? If you have any questions, always jump in and let me know and I'll stop waffling and try and answer them. So Tracy's asking where to buy. Again, there's a little link for the stockists. It will take you through to the Jamie Rodgers Crafts website. We don't sell direct on the website, but you'll see our list of stockists. And as of 7 p.m. this evening, you'll start to see them all announcing that they're getting these products into stock. And I'd love you to support our stockists. That's what it's all about here at our company. Beautiful samples. Thank you, Deborah. Lovely samples. Thank you, Kim. Where am I? I feel like I've gone back too far, Pete. Have I missed anything else? What's this one? Gillian. Hi, Jamie and Pete. Just finished messing about with the kaleidoscope die. Had the idea of putting photos of my granddaughter in the segments from being a baby to seeing her at 18. So that's lovely. You're not going to believe this. I can't tell you who I was talking to because more will come clear in the next few days. But I was having a conversation about using the segments from that today to do a scrapbook page with. So great minds, we're on the same page. I'd love to see it. Don't forget to share it with me on our Saturday check-ins. I can never remember what we call these things, but on Saturday we put up a post in the morning for you to share your creations with us. I would love to see what you're doing if I haven't already seen it before. Lots of hellos again. Oh, well done, Craft Bliss. You've done your link. Brilliant. Thank you very much for doing that. And again, lovely to have you with us. Good evening, Ian. You're not late at all, honestly. There's never any pressure. It's just lovely to have you with us and have this chance to have a little natter and catch up. So moving on, let's look at the next one. We have got for you the borders and corners. So again, we have gone from the background. Then we've given you the main focal points. Now it's the finishing touches. So in here, you're going to see both flowers from the background and the sets represented in border forms and corner forms, and sort of swoosh forms, which I know probably isn't the right terminology, but you've got sort of these bits that bend round a little bit. So if you want to put them around circles or ovals, you've got that little freedom of movement to create with them. But you've also got the corners and the borders to make up, so you can make them into bigger frames. And again, you've probably seen this on quite a few of the samples we've looked at already, but it's all about tying together and making it that you've got the corners to match in with the focals, that matches in with the backgrounds. And you might run this for an album or a journal, but it's nice to know that everything's going to coordinate. Or you might, in the papercraft world, you might choose to do a gift bag, gift tag, card insert, and it all coordinate throughout the whole set, maybe focusing on different bits. We could do lots of different individual pieces that don't coordinate, but to me, if I give you the options of it all coordinating, if you choose to use it in that way, brilliant. But if you don't, they're all, of course, standalone items. It just gives you more freedom on how you're creating and what limitations we can sort of achieve by doing different bits. And again, like with the pattern match stamp, removing that barrier of not being able to stamp a picture larger because you might just want to add on an extra ½ inch, or it might be that you want to stamp the whole of your background. We want to give you that ability for you to choose where you're going to stop with what you're doing. So sample wise for the borders and corners, lovely little tag here, just showing you just the rose element being used at the top and the bottom of the tag. Very nice little card showing you it being stamped into 4 different corner elements and then building up the middles with our circles. I think that's in the wrong place. So I've got a couple here that are in the wrong place. I'll show you those in a sec. Another one done here by Ian, where he's added a bit of sparkle, which is really pretty, onto the corners and then again to the flower in the middle. And we've got the happy birthday there on the top corner. And then another one here where we've added the corners around it, added in the texture paste in the middle through the heart stencil. This one again is done by Lynn, adding in the little butterfly and using those circles. When we get to these circles and square dies later and I've got no samples, it's because I've put them in throughout all the way. But I have got a couple of samples I'll share with you, but just remember how cool they are. They come in so many places. And then these border bits can be great for smaller cards as well. I'm really trying to showcase smaller cards at the moment. I tend to do an awful lot of large cards, but it's quite nice to show you that we can team these things back and do smaller cards with them too. Now these are two that I've put onto the wrong pile. This is my fault, but these are done by Ian. And again, he's brought in the rose stamp and done the large rose, added in the smaller one. And I thought that was quite cool actually, because I tended to use them as two separates, but the way Ian's divided this into a triptych panel, he's been able to add those in and it looks like they're anchored in and belong to where they are. And I thought that was really lovely. We also really like the little tag as well. I thought that was cute. So there we go, there's those ones. Then moving on, we'll have a little look at our background stamp. So this is our first or second DL stamp. This is our first script stamp, and it's our large Latin script. We've done it in Latin, so you don't have to worry about what occasion you're using this for. It could be Christmas, it can be Valentine's, it can be birthdays. Unless your recipient can read Latin, you're going to get away with being able to use it for every occasion. And that's quite important to me because I didn't want to stamp it in the background of an anniversary card and it actually sing happy birthday. You know, it's got to be something that doesn't really match to anything, so we can use it in all formats all throughout the year. And again, being a large format stamp means we can stamp it and not have to worry about having too many join marks. Where with smaller background stamps, I always get frustrated when I can see the joins from where I've joined it up. With this, I've only got to join it across the bottom and the top as such, and you can usually disguise that quite nicely. So just some quick cards here sharing with you, bringing those in and using them in the backgrounds to create some beautiful effects that can then be built up. And like this one here from Ian, I believe, showing you how you can use that in the backgrounds to your other stamps as well. Another one here, I think this one's Lynn, stamping with it in the background and then bringing in the flowers to the front. And then a lovely little photo frame that Ian's done, using it around the edges and then cutting out and layering on top here some borders and corner elements. So there's loads of ways in which you're going to be able to bring that script into so many different bits that you're doing all throughout the year. Then our last stamp set, this is our Lattice, and I'm rather excited about this because again we're DL, again we're pattern match, so it means that we can match it in all directions and carry this on to as large as we wish to have it. It again should recommended retail price be $11.99, as is all of our DL stamps. I forgot to mention that when we went through the smaller ones. These ones carry a recommended retail price of $9.99, just to give you an idea of price points. Now with the Lattice one, we will come on to more with this in a moment, so I'll keep that to one side, but let's share with you just a few. I always drop something. That's the first one, I think. There'll be more. But if I share with you a few little samples to give you some inspiration. Now again, you're going to notice that we're using the Latin script with the Lattice, with the corners. We can of course stamp the flowers and then stamp the Lattice over the top. We can stamp the Lattice and then build up on the front there. The Lattice also, although it's a larger stamp, comes in really handy to be being used as backgrounds throughout our projects. It's a great one to colour. So I went a bit stained glassed with this panel. And then I said this when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, but I really wanted to bring it in with the Elite Misters. And I was only doing this earlier, so if you see colour on my hands, it's probably from doing this. But this is watercolour card. I've stamped and heat embossed in gold to create my Lattice, and then I've misted with our Elite Misters. But I really thought that was quite nice. It reminded me of Christmas and quite fun. So I'll turn that into a card at some point. I might even stamp some flowers over it or layer them on. I don't know yet, but it's quite a fun way to play around with it. So if you don't want to sit and colour with alcohol markers, think of bringing in your inks and your other mediums to create some really vintage and cool backgrounds. Another good bit with a Lattice is you can multi-stamp it. So here we've got it stamped in Chameleon Green and Piggy Pink, and I've just dropped one over the top of the other one so that it can then be stamped into the middle points of the open Lattice. You'll also, of course, see our flower stamps, our butterflies all coming in together on that project. And then another one here showing you the background Floral Melody stamp with the Lattice actually being stamped horizontally across the tag this time. So let's have a little look at our comments while Pete resets us for our next little bit. So I've got Pete's back. Sorry, I've hit the button, zoomed in on Pete's back. That's the last thing we need. Sorry about that, everyone. Me trying to be quick on the buttons and forgetting about Pete coming in to swap the things. We'll get better. You know, this is why that I usually work in a TV studio, because if people do all this bit and we don't have to, and I'm quite of a loose cannon when left on my own with technology and buttons. So apologies. Lovely that you like them all, Deborah. That's great to hear. Jean saying that they look a bit Victorian. That's very nice to hear. Deborah, the bundle will have to wait till next week. There's never a rush. You know us, we like to try and give you as many options, as many formats and as many places for you to make your purchases. And of course, we like to try and keep things in stock as long as we possibly can too. So if we can't reach to everything today, we can always build collections in time. And you know us, there will be more to go with these collections in time too, so everything will come back and match up. Lovely to have you with us, Ben and Sarah from Intercraft. Really lovely collection, thank you. Oh, you've got them on your website, brilliant. That is lovely to hear. It's not quick, is it? It's never easy. It's kind of the bit that people don't see is all the work that goes on behind the scenes when we run websites and do bits, isn't it? We spend hours and hours making sure everything's in places and then try and work out things like SEO and keywords, and again, they go well over my head. But it's lovely to have you here, so thank you for joining us, and thank you, of course, for your support. So let's have a little look at the next item. So we're talking about now stencils that match with stamps. Now, a bit of bad planning, I haven't got my stamp to hand, so let's bring this one out here and show you the actual stamp over the top of the stencil. By stamps and stencils that coordinate, I literally mean your stamp is going to join up and match up over the top of that stencil. Now, we give you large format stencils because A, you can use these for a lot more than just working with this stamp, but B, it's kind of easier in my mind, and everyone does this in a different way. And where my parents have set up my demo kits for us tonight, you'll get to see this when we get on to doing that hopefully shortly, but they went about it the other way. They did the stamping first, and tonight we will do the texture paste and the stenciling second, which is fine, and there's no right or wrong with this. Every time I've done it, I've done the sort of stenciling first and then stamped over the top as a guide to where to go. So when you're playing with these, see how you get on. But it doesn't matter what way you start it, both roads end in the same place. And that is with giving you the ability to stamp perfectly over the top of your stenciled background. Now, when we're talking about the stencils, we can, of course, bring in inks. We can bring in all of our different mediums. We can bring in all of our explosion powders. We can bring in our texture paste. We can bring in our gemstones, glitter texture paste. We can, of course, also emboss them, which is what I've done for this sample here. And again, showing you don't have to stamp over the top if you don't want to. But if you wish to, you could, of course, stamp over the top of that and build up that background. But if you use a rubber mat or a tan mat with your machine and send this through your die cutting machine, you will be able to emboss this stencil and have a really lovely effect to it. So I've kept this one simple. I've embossed the background and added on a little stamp and a sentiment to match. Then we didn't want to leave you with just one stencil when we could bring you two. So we have bought you a mini flowers stencil, and this one again matches up perfectly. You will find that your stamp sits perfectly over the top of those stenciled elements. And this time I'll show you a card where I have done the stenciling and stamped that lattice over the top. So I've stamped in our elephant grey ink, one of our quick dry ink pads, and I have used, I want to call it periwinkle blue, but it isn't, it's Larimar blue. I always refer to it as periwinkle, I apologise, but a Larimar blue gemstones texture paste, and again bought in our flowers over the top. And then this one is sharing with you how I have embossed the background and stamped over the block over the top with the lattice stamp. So again, it doesn't matter whether you go for texture paste, inks, embossing, the choice is yours, but you're going to be able to build that up and create some really cool effects by actually using the two items together, the stamps and of course the stencils. And then we move on, and then we've got another different concept for you. There's only 3 more items to go through, and then I promise we'll do some demos. We've got the Dotty line stencil. Now these are actually 4 individual stencils. We've put them together in the packaging so you can see them easily and they don't move around too much. But there is actually, I think that's all 4 of them. No, I've missed one, there we go. There are 4 different sizes of dots in a line. And this is all about giving you the ability to make your own borders. This is something I love doing. It's important to me, is giving you that chance to be able to make borders to whatever size and length you want to, and of course using whatever products you wish to. So if you pop these onto your card and you bring in your texture pastes, your inks, your different mediums once again, you can place them over the top and have a really cool borderline, whether you're going for the extra large, the medium, or the small. All four will give you the choice of which ones you want to work with, and they all come together in one handy set. And they are, of course, broke down as you see them on the black card, just in the packaging we've put them together. Now, these are great for bringing in and using with inks in different places, like this one here done by Lynn. You'll notice the flowers and the layers and the wordings from previous collections. But again, these are little extensions really to previous collections and future collections, because we can just place them little lines in anywhere we want to. So another texture based one there on a little tag, another one here just showing you a little line down the edge, another one showing you just the little details on the corners to match in with the circles. This again is using the stencils which are coming up, and then another one where the lines have been used to make up the backgrounds, and another one here showing you just down the edges of the card as well. And then a little board I've done with the lovely Larry Marr of the texture paste in the 4 different sizes to show you how they're going to look if you use them a texture paste. Now I can tell you this on a live because of I won't tell you the name of the show actually because it's still swearing and I don't want to do that. But there's a TV show on Netflix that's Something Creek. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's very like Friends, and in it they work for an airline at one very small point, very minute couple of bits throughout the episodes, and the airline is called Larry Air. When people were picking names for the gemstones texture pastes, we were trying to match them to true gemstones, and Larry Marr come up as the gemstone colour of blue, and it reminded us of Larry Air, and it's a show we've watched several thousand times over, and for some reason is embedded in our heads. I'm always very grateful because you're probably sitting there thinking they're bonkers, and we are kind of bonkers, but luckily I just think it's me, but I've got Pete on hand who is equally bonkers, so at least together we're bonkers, where if I'm on my own I tend to feel terrible about these sort of nutty bits I come up with. But yeah, so if I slip and say Larry Air, we haven't named it Larry Air, it is Larry Marr. It's just me getting confused. So let's delve into our next one. So we're going to go on to another stencil, and this time we're going to look at our lovely frames. Now these are a new concept. These are our frame collection, and we have got these for you in squares and circles. There is so much we can do with these. You're going to see a lot more coming with these in time than what I'm going to be able to do with them this evening. But basically it gives you the ability to mask off areas, bring in inks, bring in texture paste and colour different pieces. We can also use them to letterpress, and by that I mean inking over the top of them, stamping over the top of them, and then sending them through our machines to letterpress off of the stencil and onto the card, which is what I've done here. It also means, because they fit perfectly inside each other, that you can ink into different colours and do different blending and different stamping techniques with them. So there is lots and lots you're going to be seeing and being able to do with these. They really are a fun product that I feel we could probably fill many lives with. And maybe at one point or another, we'll do a live just focused on these, because there's a lot we can do with them. The circles, again, very similar concept, giving you 4 different sizes in each one, circles and squares, and again giving you that ability to build up and ink and create. This is a little demo that we did on the last time we sort of introduced you to the Floral Wonder collection, where we masked off an area, inked it, added texture paste over it, then removed the stencils to have this really cool glossy effect, because we've focused in on one small area. And this is something that I haven't yet finished, but it's cool to show you. This is taking one of the stencils, putting clear texture paste over the top of it, and then throwing pixie powders at that clear texture paste, misting with water to activate them, and then you end up with this really cool central area that you could build up on top of. I didn't mask off the outside, quite like the fact I didn't, but you could if you wanted to, so you end up with a nice clean crisp circle that you could then build up on top of. And then we move on to our final 2 items, and then I promise we'll do some playing and some demos, but we've got for you 2 dies. Now I've hinted and shown you lots with these throughout. This is our circular frames. These are a bit different to what you would necessarily imagine circular frames or circular dies to do. You know that we are building our nested die collections. We've already bought out the squares. to which there are 5 different options. There are more shapes in that collection coming, lots more shapes. Every other day somebody suggests another shape and we add it to our list that will be coming in the future. I will tell you now, which I shouldn't do, the next release is scheduled to have a new shape within that release. So we really are building that, and you will see more of those coming shortly. But these are slightly different. What we have here are 7 separate dies that are rings. So when this cuts, it cuts that out as a circle. And I'm going to bring in the board to share with you. It means that you never have to worry about if your circles or your 2 dies are level again, because they're perfectly level, they're perfectly in place, and each time you cut them, you're going to end up with this perfect circle or perfect ring. Now, this is just showing you the different sizes to which we can create. There is a really cool thing about having 2 matching sizes. That means that we can put them on opposite sides of a wardrobe card or a gatefold card, and you can then bring them together and create your own lock-in mechanism. I've got a demo, I'll show you how to do that shortly, but it's just a really cool way to actually be able to create that lock-in effect, and a really fun way to use them. You've seen lots of samples with them already, but just a couple more to give you more ideas of building them up, cutting them out. Of course, if we cut into a pattern paper or a background stamp, you're removing that equal image area from that project. I showed you the card earlier where I'd used the rings I cut out. This is foam padding the pieces back in place and building them up to create a slightly different effect with them. But of course, you've got the different pieces to them. You can also snip into them and then build them back together. So Ian's done obviously the Olympic rings here, which I thought was really cool and quite fun. But you could build that up and turn them into photo frames, or add just a little flower on the side of them, do different bits like that with them. Lynn has done this one where she's turned one of them into a little shaker dome, and she's added little like Santa's belt style bobbles across the middle with our stencils. And then one here where I've just gone quite clean and simple and built up the circle with some foam tape. So we've got those for you in circles, and we have them for you in squares. And of course, these are going to match in nicely when we're talking about the circles and the squares of the stencils too, because you've got the same designs to build up on top. So squares, very similar to the circles in the sense of 7 different dies, giving you all of those different options. Again, giving you that ability to create those interlocking moments for your cards. And another cool bit that I only just discovered with these, and I hadn't really thought of, is if you take the squares and the circles and you do them in 2 different colours, and you put them together, you end up with this kind of cool frame that you could do in all different sizes, because you've got 7 different options between the 2. Now, I also, as a scrapbooker, really like using these for my frames in my albums, and I think they're quite fun ways to build up. You can, of course, cut all 7 dies together, which is what I've done here, nested them together, cut them out, and then pieced them back and built them up with foam tape to create this kind of invitage? I don't know. I think that's the one where it goes in, isn't it? Outvidage? I don't know. Pyramid effect, and building them up. So it just gives you a different idea on how you can build them. And that completes our brand new launch. So that is the complete Floral Wonder collection. 2 dies, 2 frame stencils, the Dotty line stencils, the 2 background stencils, and then of course the free DL stamps and the free A6 stamps. Pyramage, thank you Leslie, you've rescued me. That's the one I was struggling to remember. But there is loads you can do with this collection that is now available from all stockists. If they haven't got it yet, you may well see it appear in the coming days, but it will hopefully be appearing on their websites and in their stores from 7 p.m. this evening. If you don't already have a favourite stockist, then have a little look through the comments. You will find a link Pete's put up to our stockist list, and you can go and check out all of our lovely stockists and find this collection. So have a little look. If you've got any questions about these, then please let me know. If you haven't, we will delve in and do a couple of demos and hopefully give you a bit more inspiration, because I've already been waffling for over 40 minutes and all we've done really is shown you through what you've possibly already seen. So apologies, but I hope that there was some fresh inspiration and new examples throughout that lot from Lynn and Ian and myself to hopefully give you a bit more of an idea of what you could be creating with them. Tammy, you would like a demo with the pixies on the clear text trays. We'll try and fit that into one of our lives coming up. I promise you that's something we can certainly do and show you. So yes, leave that with me and we'll try and fit that in at some stage. I can't do it now, I haven't got the stuff here, but we can at some point, I promise. So if there's any questions, let me know. If not, we will delve in and have a look at our first demo. So it's lovely to have you all with us this evening, and I hope you're enjoying this. I hope it's nice to see it come together and hopefully have a little bit more time to actually really look at bits. When we're on TV and bits, we have timelines on how long the shows can go on for, where tonight we've got a little bit of an extended time period, so we can really delve in and play around with bits and see what you're liking and answer your questions as we go through it. So again, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and I will do my very best to answer them for you. So the first things first that we're going to do is we're going to have a little look at this very quick, simple card to create. And this is what I love about this collection. It's easy and it's fun, and there's so many ways in which you're going to be able to play with it and build it and create with it. So I thought we would start off by playing with one of the corner stamps and showing you just how simple it is to actually work that round into a panel. So I'd gone ahead and die cut my one on my finished project, but now I'm seeing I don't seem to have one here. So we're going to play with a finished square, so instead of a die cut one. Now, if you do wish to die cut them, the one I've used for this one is, of course, our lovely postage stamp squares, which are, of course, available already. And then we're going to bring in one of our stamps, and I'm going to use the rose corner this time because we can see the other flower on the finished example, and it's kind of nice to show you not only the ones that are in one place, but show you both of them, show you both concepts. And we're going to use the red ink. When I did that one, I used the Black Panther from the quick dry ink pads, but for this little demo, because we're playing with a rose, let's go for red instead. So I'm going to use Squirrel Red, which is one of our quick dry pigment ink pads. And we're just going to go in and stamp that down. Now these inks, you can heat emboss them if you wish to. They are waterproof, so you can, of course, go in with watercolours. You could use Elite Misters, you could use anything like that with no fear that the ink is going to smudge or be reactive. And you can colour them with alcohol markers with no fear that they're going to bleed. I'm trying to remember anything else I need to tell you about ink. They're also acid free, so you can use them in scrapbooking, which is really good. And they are fade resistant, and I am officially now cheating and reading this off the back of the packet. So we'll ink this one up and we'll carry on stamping around. And this is the bit I love about stamping around a shape in a stamp press like this. It's really simple. Once you've picked where your first corner is going to be and you've placed it down, you can simply just twist the panel to put it into the next place and reapply the pressure. Now you might wish to do this for the insert of your card. You might want to die cut out the middle with a circle die or an oval die and turn it into a really pretty frame. You might wish to do what we're doing with this project and build up on top of it. There's so many choices and so many ways you're going to be able to take it. It's just giving you that small option to be able to play. Now, if I bring in, I use a little bit of card here because I haven't already, and we'll just do a little, oh, that's a bit bright. Let's go for a slightly lighter one. Now, I'm using a mixture of alcohol markers, which I have personally collected over many, many years. My alcohol markers range from being Spectrum Noir ones to Graphmaster, Nouveau, who else have I got hidden away in that little box? But all different brands, and I just sort of yo-yo between which ones I'm working with. We would love to bring you a range of alcohol markers, and that is something we are pinging emails back and forth about at the moment. So there may be some new ones I introduce you to in time. No timeline on that, but it is, again, something we're working on behind the scenes. But just whichever brand of alcohol markers you've got, go ahead and add in a bit of colouring to these. And I always say this, I don't colour very well. I colour like a 2-year-old is my normal expression. And it's kind of true. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it to have a little bit of colour and show that I'm, oh, that's darker. I could have pre-planned some colour pens. I'm looking for a lighter green. Let's see if this one, that'll do. We'll just go over the top here. And I'm trying to use lighter colours so you can see that I'm not activating that squirrel red ink. The red ink is staying in place and the new shading is going over the top of that quite nicely with no real problem. And you can work around whether it's the rose and the red ink or a little panel I've done here already on the postage stamp squares where I've used the other flower and I've stamped in black. But carry on round and build that up, and this is what you're going to end up with, which again, great frame to be an insert, great frame to cut out the middle of and turn into a scrapbook element. It's got lots you could do with that and create. Now, I have a feeling our dear Pat Smith might be in the wrong place because I see you're saying shop emboss. So I think somewhere you think you're watching a live shopping experience, which I'm told are all the rage. That isn't us, I'm afraid, Pat Smith. Your shop emboss will not secure you anything that's going to emboss for you. This live is not selling direct. It is, of course, promoting our incredible stockists. So just because I don't want you disappointed, if you're watching another one and got the wrong comment box and you've fallen in love with something which is emboss, I don't want you to miss out because you've commented in the wrong place, wherever that may be. So make sure you're in the right place. Let's go back to where we were. So onto our card blank, we are going to take our first panel and we're going to use some foam tape on the back of this one to build it up. Now, something I love about working with alcohol markers is the ability to colour around the edges of my cardstock to match in with the colours which I've been using throughout my project. Everything is going to match up nicely without having to have hundreds of colours of card. I just need one cardstock that I can colour easily to make sure that that's going to take the same colours and represent throughout the layers. So I'm of course using our polar white cardstock to create these panels that I'm then adding colour to. In the middle, we're going to go for some gold mirror card. This of course is our Jamie Rodgers Crafts mirror card, and on here I've used the plain squares and I've used the dotty line which comes in with the scallop squares to create that matte layer, and then we're going to bring in the postage stamp square and add that over the top. Now I'm realising as I'm saying this, I've said square an awful lot, and if you've not seen them, you might not know what I mean. These are our nesting square dies. There are 5 different variations to these. We have got plain ones, fluted, postage, decal, and scallop. The decal and the scallop come with separate pierce or stitch lines, depending on which set you're looking at. And the separate lines can be interchanged to go through any of the 5 different options. They can, of course, also be used on their own to add a stitched or a pierced detail to the front of your card blank, for instance. As I say, 5 current versions to these. There will be more shapes coming, and the shapes that are coming will carry on the same patterns and designs. And I always mention this because I think it's important that you know we're talking about squares today, but coming soon there will be rectangles, circles, ovals, just to begin with, and then lots more after that. But you're going to know that you can then die cut your circles into the middles of your squares or your rectangles or your ovals, whatever, and create some really cool mats and layers and frames. So it's nice to know that that's a collection we're building on, and there'll be lots more coming to go in with them. So if you've not seen them before, again, check out one of the stockists. I'm sure you're going to see them on the stockists pages or stores. So into the middle, we're going to look at our lovely frame here. Now, while I find my die, I am just going to check with Pete. Have I missed any questions while I've been endlessly waffling? Or anything that we need to answer?
No, not particularly.
Good. Okay. Well, if we have, please let us know. So, onto our first circle. We're going to use the largest one, I believe, from the set. We're going to bring in a magnetic board for our machine, and we're going to add on top a piece of card. We're then going to add on our top plate, and we're going to send this through. And I wanted to show you these cutting just simply because of, I think sometimes it's nice to see a die in action and to actually see what I mean about it. We'll cut that circle for you. It's going to match up and you're going to have that perfect ring to build up, or donut to build up from. Now, a little tip with these, when you come to adding foam tape to the reverse of them, if that is something you wish to do, I would highly recommend you leave your die cut in your die. Simply because when you're adding foam tape around the shape, you don't have to worry then the shape is going to move. So I tend to leave mine in here like you're seeing them. I will then get my foam tape. If I could find it, I would share it with you. I put this somewhere earlier, Pete, and I thought I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to forget where that is. And I've got it, don't worry, thank you. And then I'm going to bring in one of these. Now, you're seeing actually, just put it on the desk now, haven't I? So I'm going to have to tell you about it. These are coming soon, and this has already been used quite a lot. So you might be able to imagine these are big. They're going to be coming shortly, and there's going to be a couple of different options for you, but they're our new foam tape that we are working on behind the scenes. I think I'm safe in saying we just need to actually finalise some packaging bits and get them launched really. So they're not going to be a million miles away, but there are very large rolls of foam tape that I'm hoping you're going to agree when we launch them and tell you about them are going to save you a few pennies. We do this with our glue. If we can bring you something in bulk that is going to cut down on what you've got to spend on it long term, in my world, that means I've got more pennies to buy other craft things with. So if we can save you money in one place to free up spending elsewhere or savings elsewhere, it doesn't have to be spent, but we're certainly going to attempt to do so. And huge foam tape rolls are one of them things that are coming. So once I've stuck it onto this, which is a topper sheet from a self-adhesive sheet. So when you take the top off, I always tell you don't throw these in the bin. This is one of the reasons I like to keep them. I would normally do this on a guillotine, but it means you can cut down them without the tape sticking to your scissors, and you can choose how thin or thick you choose to cut your foam tape. I do this quite a lot because it's frugal. It means that out of this strip, I can get 4 strips this width. So I'm getting 4 times the amount out of a roll. Whether it's a small roll or a gigantic roll, I'm getting a lot more value for money. So it's just one of the tips I can give you. Have I missed anything, Pete? Don't hesitate to yell at me if I have.
Put me on the spot, don't you? Joanna has asked if you'll be selling a 1mm foam tape.
I'm going to look to you. Is it 1 or 2?
1 and 2.
Shh!
Sorry.
You're not allowed to tell them that much. My goodness, Peter.
Tell them everything.
We would tell him everything. I have heard that already, that we do tell you a lot, and I like that. I truly feel that we're in this together, all of us, and I haven't got quite enough, but we're not going to worry about it. But it means that you can then add your tape round it without having to worry that you're misshaping your die or that it's tricky to do. That's if you choose to foam tape it. You might not wish to, you might wish to glue it on. I've done my foam tape on this one already, so I'm going to remove this lid from, I think, actually a 1mm foam tape by the feels of this, instead of on that one where I used a 2, I think, or a 3, I don't know. I'm going to stop talking about foam tape before I get yelled at by Pete. And we're going to bring the circle in and we're going to place it down. I find it so exciting to know what's coming and what we're up to. Is she? Good. And then in the circle, we've gone ahead and we've stamped one of the lace sentiments already. So I've gone for wishing you the most magical birthday, filled full of love, presents, cake and wishes for the year ahead. If you're wondering where that's come from, that is one that is already out and about. Of course, again, I'll always say this, check out the stockists. They may well have it. If they don't have it, they can order it for you. But we're going to place that down into the middle of this one to complete that central part. We're then going to bring in one of our elegant butterflies. Now, this is one of the very first dies we brought out in the Essential collection right back in June. And I've cut it from Miri card, and we're going to just take the foam pad lid off of the back of this, and we're going to place it down on the front of the frame, if I can get my little lid off, because of now it's going to be tricky. Come here. No, it's only my fingers. There you go. And then we're going to place that down on the top there to complete that one. And I have chose to use a different butterfly on this card to the original, so you can see two of the six different designs that come within that set. There is a larger butterfly that's full on, and then there is 3 side profiles of butterflies to give you an idea on what you could be working with. So we've gone through our borders and corners stamps, we've used our floral lace stamps, we've used our elegant butterflies, we've used our circle dies, postage stamp dies, scalloped square dies, and plain square dies. And the card size, which I forgot to tell you in the beginning, is approximately 7/4. So 6 3/4 inches is the card, and the pink layer is 6 inches. So again, build up from wherever you wish to, but that might give you a bit of a size idea of what I did to create that one. Now, if you have any questions, let me know and I'll do my best to answer them for you. If you don't, we will move on and we'll fit in another one, because I can see we're coming up to the hour point already, and I can't only leave you with one demo. Not that we're cutting off at an hour, we'll stay around a while yet, but I want to try and fit in as much as I can to give you some inspiration. And actually, something I haven't said already is thank you for your patience. It's been a fun couple of weeks with changing plans and not knowing too much of when we were going to be able to launch the Floral Wonder collection and how best in honesty to do it. We're a very small, very new company, and our sort of plans have certainly hit rocky tides. So thank you for being patient. I know a lot of you have messaged and asked when's it coming, when can I get my hands on it, which is actually really lovely because it shows that you've fallen in love with it and that you love it as much as we do. But I know we've had a bit of a delay from telling you 2 weeks ago today it's coming on Tuesday to actually today being able to launch it with our stockists. So sorry about that and thank you. So the next one I wanted to do for you is building up one of our little interlocking cards, because I think these are really cute and really fun and super easy to do. And I really like the fact that we can do smaller cards with them. So again, I've got a couple of tips to share with you on this format, but we're going to start off by looking actually at our card blank. So first of all, I would take a piece of card and I've cut this one down to 10 inches by 5 inches. And I've then scored in at 2.5 inches on each side. I'm sure you're light years ahead of me with this, but if you're not used to making gatefold cards, basically we need to take the size of the card, divide it into 2 sections, which would normally be your card as such folding round, and know that if that's 10 inches, that would normally be 5 inches and 5 inches. But instead of folding it in half, take that 5 inches and divide it down to the 2 edges and score at that half mark on each of them. So in this instance, 2.5 inches. I hope that makes sense. It did in my head. I hope it made sense as I've said it. But it gives you that ability to then bring these round and make your gatefold cards. Now there's many ways you can do that, but that's how I tend to go about them. And of course, if you want bigger ones, you can just use bigger sheets of card and cut them down. This one's from an A4 sheet of card, which is great because it means we're not spending a fortune to make our own. And we're quite small if we want to make envelopes because we're only at a 5 inch by 5 inch card. Now, once you've got your card blank set, we're going to start off in the middle and we're going to build this one up. So we're using Gladiator Red and Polar White Elite cardstock for this part. And we're going to take our panel and we're going to place that in the center. And this one's just stepped down 1/4 of an inch to make that bit. We're then going to go to the outside edges. Now we're going to do a stamp here because I like you to see the stamps in action. So we'll place those bits out of the way for the second and we're going to change stamps. And go for, if I can find it, we're getting to that part of the evening that I get messy, end up with bits everywhere. But we're going to go for our lattice stamp and we're going to get a piece of white card. And where did I hide? Oh, I've still got red ink out. Let's go for red ink. Really like the red. It's funny how you go in phases, isn't it? But I'm really, let's just check on the right one. We are. Really love this red ink. This is squirrel red. It's a very luxurious, deep red. It's not too bright. And it's just kind of regal. And I quite like them sort of darker, muted tones. So we'll ink this one up and we'll give it a little push down. Gorgeous cards and great tip about leaving the die cut in while adding foam. Thank you. You're more than welcome, Pamela. If I can give you any little tips like that, that's really lovely to be able to pass them on, to be honest, because that's, to me, what it's all about, is giving you that little bit of inspiration. So we've stamped down our first one. Now, if I was pattern matching this stamp, which of course we can do with these stamps, I would probably either thought ahead a little bit more, which you can do, or I would take my stamp and I would clean it. I'd just clean it off quickly, and then I would bring it back in and match it up to where I want it to be. And I'm going very much by eye here. And then I would re-ink and stamp that down. If I always feel this with our pattern match stamps, and you might be a bit more precise than I am, which is grand if you are. But I always feel if it doesn't match perfectly, it's not the end of the world. It's more about giving me the ability to create the optical illusion that if I put a panel over this middle part, if I bring in something and put that over the central part, I'm hiding the join, but everything's still spaced out perfectly underneath it. You're not going to necessarily see that join, but you're going to know it's all perfect. And to me, that's kind of nice, especially when we're looking at more like the floral ones and bits like that. Again, something else we can do with this, just in case you missed it when I was talking about the example, is of course stamp it and then drop it down. And again, I would clean my stamp in between this moving, just so I know that it's not going to create too many smudges or marks. And I'm not going to change colour, because if I do, I've got to clean it, and you don't want to watch me clean stamps. But you can then stamp it again over the top of that one or underneath that one as such, creating your own sort of drop shadow effect. And I think that's a really nice look, especially when you start thinking about bringing in different inks or maybe embossing powders and building that up and creating different sizes and styles. It doesn't have to be exact. You could drop it halfway and then half again or quarter again, and make some really cool, fun, like plaid and tartany-esque backgrounds with it if you wanted to. So once we've stamped out our lattice, we'll get rid of that one for the second, and we'll bring in a couple of panels to add onto the front of the card. So with these ones, I've stamped in the Black Panther, and I've again layered on top of the Gladiator red. And I've added just a couple of little gold gems into the corners to tie in some colours. Or have I missed a birthday? Whose birthday have I missed, Pete? I'd like to wish you a happy birthday. Oh, Pete's missed the comment. Oh, here we go, Maxine. Hi, Jamie, late to the party, is celebrating my birthday. Happy birthday. With a few beverages, this collection looks amazing. Thank you very much for joining us, Maxine, on your birthday. I hope you've been having a really lovely day. The weather here has been quite lovely, actually. So I'm hoping you two have had nice weather. You've managed to get out and about and enjoy your birthday. So then on to our square dies. Now these again, of course, we can just go for one cut and we can place that over it and layer that in place, and it's going to create our interlocking feature. But because we're interlocking, I know that that's a mechanism that's going to get a bit of work. I want to make that stronger. So again, a bit like when we did the foam tape, I would cut this and I would leave it in my die. So I'm going to see if I can put this back. Oh, that's the wrong size. That ain't going to help. Let's bring in the right size die. So I would leave my first cut within the die, so it's back in place. And again, that just gives me the ability to hold on to something and run around the edge with some glue. And then this isn't going to stay in the die very nicely because it's come out, but it'll give you the idea. And it would make it easier for you to line this up. And then take your next layer. So I've chose to go for a different colour, place that over the top, match that up, and then remove it from your die. And it will just give you, that didn't work, come here. It'll give you the ability to make sure it matches perfectly. Because one thing we want to have, if we're going to try and interlock the squares, is everything nice and equal and level. If one of these levels is slightly out, it's going to prevent that interlocking mechanism from happening. So glue a couple together. I tend to go for 2. You might choose to use more, but go for as many as you want to. Again, I'm working with our Elite cardstock, which, I haven't said this for a long time. Is it 300 GSM? It is 300 GSM, isn't it? Other than black, which is 270. It's up there somewhere. I remember these things in time. But again, quite thick cardstock means that I don't need as many layers. I'm then going to bring in the glue, and we're going to go around the edge of the frame here to about halfway. And I would measure that a bit more precisely if I was doing this for myself. We're then going to bring that part in, and we're going to lay that down over the edge there to make sure that that matches. And we're going to give it a little slide so it's roughly where it needs to be. Now at home, you've got a bit more time to play with this. So before moving on, if I was using wet glue, I would let that one set in place. But for speed, we're going to go to the other side. So the other side, I've already gone ahead and I've stuck a couple of these together, cut out. These, of course, are the bits that come out of the middles. So when this die cuts, this is the part that you're left with from the centre. I've taken 2 of them, I've stamped on one, and I've added the rose, the Latin script, the with love, and I've coloured in with alcohol markers. I would then take this side and I would put some glue over that one, again to roughly halfway. You can spend a bit more time on this than I want to hold you up with tonight. And then I'm going to place that down in the centre. And then I can check that we are coming apart okay and going back together. And then you can hold it and you can make sure it's set. You might choose to use double-sided tape. I tend to like wet glue because it gives me that moment of play and that moment of movement, but that will then create your locking mechanism. So as mine sets, will be gentle, but once it's set in place, of course, it's set there for life and you can be a little bit more free to play around with them. You know, they're not going to move or come away. They're going to stay in place for you. So that's how you're going to create your locking mechanisms. Whether you're working with the circles or the squares, both of them give you that option to do that style with them if that's something you would like to try and achieve and play around with. I think that's quite good fun. So then, should we try and fit in another demo? How are we doing? We're only just about 10 past the hour. So we're doing all right, aren't we here, Pete? I think we could fit in another one. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, let us know in the comments and I'll do my very best to answer them for you. That is why we're here. That is one of the best bits about what we do with our Thursday night natters. I will waffle for England, but it's more about giving you the chance to join in and ask any questions you may have. So please don't be shy. If you've got a question, or if you've missed something, or you want me to cover something again, or you've got a technique that I'm not necessarily covering tonight that you'd like to see on next week's Thursday night natter, then let me know and we can schedule that in as well. So on to our next card. This is what we're going to be doing for the next one. And we're going to go back to our lattice. We're going to play with the Floral Melody stamp. And we're going to bring in some texture paste and show you the stencils and the lattice working together. Because as I said, I think that's kind of important that you get to see them bits working in conjunction. So if I skip forward down to my pile here, you did just watch me stamp one of these with the lattice stamp. So for speed, we're going to go with one that I've already got stamped out. And we're going to bring in one of our stencils. Now, should we go with flowers or should we go with hearts? Are we feeling in a romantic mood, Peter? Should we go for flowers or hearts? I've gone for the lovely turquoisey blue for my gemstones texture paste, so I think it's going to have to be hearts. I don't know if I wish to have blue flowers. So we'll go for hearts. Pete's not giving me any answers, so we'll go for hearts. I'm going to match this up. Hearts are good, are they? Don't come to the party now.
You're getting all romantic.
Getting all romantic. That don't happen, does it? Doesn't happen at all. So we're going to use some low tack masking tape and we are going to anchor this down. So matching up, the good bit about stamping first, and I'll try and get this up so you can see that, we can see perfectly where we are so that we know that them hearts are going to appear within the middles. Now I can see a question just popping up from Sharon. When can we purchase on the website? I've lost it now. When can we purchase on the website? I'm happy to announce this is available to all of our stockists from 7 p.m. this evening. So check out the link that we've put up in the comments so that you can go and find your favourite. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought completely. This happens far too often in normal life. You're just not normally here to witness it. But the mind goes blank, especially when I'm trying to open jars and think and talk. It don't happen. But yeah, they're available at the stockists. So have a little look on the link we've put in the comments. Several of the stockists have put links already. They're available for you to go and purchase. Don't forget here, we don't sell direct. We're all about supporting our stockists. So find your favourite stockist and have a little look and see if they've got it. There is a list if you need it. And I see something. Oh, Tammy's gone for hearts. Good, we're on hearts. Maxine, do you mean interlocking? If that's to me, I probably said all sorts of things because I talk in riddles. Is it me?
A typo.
Oh, was there a typo? Was there? Was it you?
No.
Oh, okay. It's usually one of us. Oh. Interlocking, interlicking, not a lot of difference. It's fine. But it's usually me that creates typos, as you've probably all witnessed quite a lot. I'm not the best at spelling. So let's have a little look. Where are we? So let's go to this one. So over the top of this, we're going to bring in our gemstones texture paste. Now, I will tell you the colour name in a second because I forgot to read it and I've got no memory. Got to the point of the evening that the memory is fried. So I'll have a little look in a second at the little jar and tell you what one we're working with. What one is it? Let's have a little look. Is this aquamarine we're working with? And this is one of the 12 gemstone colours we have available. We've had quite the delay for our diamond white, I believe it's called, to come back into stock. That should hopefully be with us this week, I believe. So if you've been waiting on for the diamond white, it is literally coming in any day. And as soon as it arrives, we'll pop up a post on the Jamie Rodgers Crafts Facebook page, and of course we will make it available for the stockists to get it ordered and get it back to you. But there is 12 current colours in this collection. I love this texture paste. I say there's 12 colours. We've got no plans currently for any new ones, but I do think we might have to add some new ones shortly. So again, we'll just add this all the way over the top, making sure we cover every heart nice and equally. And of course, with the stencil, we can carry this on. It doesn't have to stop here. If we wanted to carry it on to a larger design because we've stamped the lattice out further, you of course can do if you want to. Oh, Maxine. I'm trying to read and remove, that don't work. The white flower that's been used on the blue tag card behind you. I can show you that. Margaret, oh, sorry. Getting to the blurry-eyed stage of the night now. Let's have a little look. So, okay, give you a waft of this first of all. This is, of course, our texture paste put through, matching up perfectly with our lattice. Now, to me, this gives us so many options. This could be the background to your card. It could be a scrapbook page. It could be home decor. We could do this all sides of a box. There's so much we can do with that ability and so many colourways we can work with. We might want to choose to heat emboss the lines. We might wish to ink the stencil instead of using the heart. You might wish to do a half and half between the flowers and the hearts. You know, there's just one of them ideas behind this that can spark a million different concepts. And again, I should imagine in time, we'll probably bring out different bits to go within these as well. So you're hopefully buying into a collection that we'll add to shortly too. I don't know about that, I don't know when, but hopefully it will happen in time. Now, this is the question. Which flower is used? I think it's this one. Please tell me if I'm on the wrong project, but I think you're going to be asking about this. Isn't this absolutely incredible? Lynn did this on our design team. I fell in love with it the second I see it. I've put it on behind me today pretty intentionally. I was hoping one of you might spot it and ask about it because it never gets the time and praise it should. Several other bits behind me. I've got lovely cards by Ian. I've got lovely boxes by Lynn. You don't get to see all of them on screen, but there's loads behind me. Incredible projects that they create for us, and this one is no different. This is one of our MDF tags that Lynn has chose to build up and sort of create with. Now, Lynn has used lots of different bits, including our diamond white gemstones texture paste through our snow flurry stencil. She has used the circle sentiments, which I think the decal edge one, the fluted edge, comes with either Happy Christmas or Merry Christmas. She has used the classic poinsettia for these two smaller poinsettias. They're the ones that emboss or deboss onto the petals. Very, very pretty. She has used the Christmas foliage, which is pointed out from around the edges. And then the big flower, this is, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and try and tell you the name. This is Poinsettia Petals die set, I believe. I'm looking to Pete. If you go in the box in front of you, I think you will find one of the dies in there and we can clarify the name. But it's beautiful and it gives you all different size petals and you get the backs and the filigrees as separate so you can build them up. You also get lots of different size middles and centres to be put within them as well. It's an incredible die set, not only for Christmas, can be used all year round. It's one of my favourites, and I think we'll see lots more from that coming forward in the future as well. Pete's just grabbing me the die so I can tell you officially the name, because I thought I knew it and then it's gone. So this is this one, which is Elegant Poinsettia Petals, and you've got the positives and the negatives to each of them as such. So you've got the outside edges and the filigree panels. So Lynn chose to nest hers together to cut them out and form this flower. But of course you could back them with different colours, or you could use these bits and stamp on them, or ink them, build up on top of them. And then you've got the central parts built up in this one as well. This one is the classic poinsettia, which is giving you all of the embossed or debossed pieces that can be built as well. And then that one is our festive foliage set, which is the one that Lynn's used to go around the sides of it. This was all from our Essential Christmas collection, which was released back in July, if I remember rightly. And I tell you that because it means that it's already available at the stockists. And again, if they haven't got it, because no stockist can carry everything. Since we launched in June, today we have officially launched our 194th product that's since June. That's not very long. We can't and don't expect our stockists to carry every single item. It's not physically viable. So if they don't have it in stock, they can order it for you. So don't hesitate to ask. And if they haven't got it, I'm sure they'll order it for you on their next orders. We're trying to work very closely with our stockists to make that as easy as possible, to make sure that they can carry as many lines and get them for you. Even if they're a special order as such, it's not a problem. We can accommodate that, they can accommodate that. But it is a lovely tag created by Lynn, so thank you for asking about that one. So where was we? Oh, I'd got my kit out, hadn't I? And I'd done my background. That's right. I was nearly off to start a new demo. Nearly forgot where we was. So card size on this one. Let's have a little look, shall we? Let's bring in a rule. We are working on a card blank for this one, which is 7.5 inches approximately by just shy of 8. So we've gone for a rectangle more than a square, but only just. And that was done intentionally to bring in enough room for my background. This time I've used the silver, which is called Argentite from our gemstones collection for the hearts, and again stamped the lattice in the panther black to make the middle panel. But before we go on to that, let's build up some layers. So we're going to bring in our silver mirror card with some foam tape, and we're going to place that one down on top, hopefully getting this somewhere near level. We're then going to bring in our raven black cardstock, and we're again going to foam pad this one up. I always do a lot of layers with foam tape. You certainly don't have to. I know postage can be a bit more of a concern now. They do keep putting it up and up. So you certainly don't have to go as bold as I do with my mats and layers. But I tend to hand over a lot of my cards. That's the ones that don't get sent out to the stockists or go on display or kept in boxes ready for the shows. So to me, I like depth, and I like to show the different shadows that creates. But it's all about personal choice when we're playing with our products, isn't it? And building up our effects. So I'm going to grab a piece of white card, and we're going to stamp out our Floral Melody. I wonder if, I'm sure they probably have. If I say I'm going to grab a piece of white card, that's code for Pete to get me a piece of white card, because I physically can't get to them today. We've got quite a lot in here. So bless him, he's on white card duty, which again, I forgot to tell him before we went live, which really doesn't help, does it? But he's been very good at jumping and finding me some white card, which is very nice. So we're going to work with our polar white card again for this one, and we're going to bring in a larger stamp press, because although we don't need to do it for this one, I thought it might be nice to show you the pattern match element of the Floral Melody stamp as well. So we're going to bring the stamp in, and we're going to place that down. I'm working in a Lisa Horton stamp press because it's the largest one I have got, and it helps for doing this. You can of course work on a stamp block if you prefer and match it yourself. It's all about choices, isn't it, and what works for you. But when I'm trying to match up to bigger projects, when I'm doing 12 by 12s and that, certainly having the ability to use a bigger platform is really handy. So I've matched my stamp, I've put that down, and I've picked it up. I've put a couple of magnets in place to hold it in place. And because it's a biggie, we'll just slide that over. And again, I'm going to work with a red because I've got that out on the desk. Again, we're looking at squirrel red. And we're going to ink up our lovely image and give this a little impression. And we know we're going to be coming back to that one. So we'll go over, stamp that down, try and get that onto a more level. Wait there a minute. That's better. Let's get those ones out of the way. We'll give that a nice firm push down. Let's have a little look. What have we created? Oh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I love this stamp. So, so pretty. We're going to move this down, and we're going to start off by going roughly by eye, and we're going to have a little look to see if we've matched. Now, if again I was doing this for me, I would clean this stamp off quickly before matching, just in case I don't quite get it in the right place or I create a shadow. A bit like I said earlier, I'm not too worried if it's not spot on, because of I can hide that with a ribbon or a panel, and it's more about seeing that it kind of matches. You think of all of the times we take a backing paper and we run a ribbon down it, or we put a panel on it. We don't tend to think, well, does it match underneath that ribbon or underneath that panel? The eye and the recipient doesn't question that. They see it as it's joined together, and that ribbon's in place there for a reason, and we don't over question it. So again with this, if it's not quite right, I can add that ribbon in place and no one's going to know that this wasn't a pre-stamped larger background or pre-bought paper. It's only me and you that would possibly know that I've had to cover it up with a ribbon if it's not quite perfect. But actually, if we look at that, that is perfect. Absolutely spot on. And we could, of course, move this down further and add on the next one. We can then move it up to this side and finish this off if you want to be doing A4 panels. Or, of course, we can stamp it below it or to either side of it or above it. So we could come down and finish off those base bits if we were working on a bigger piece of card. Or we can take the stamp up and we can stamp on the top of it as well and carry on until whatever size we want to be working with. But that's our panel. That's our stamped image done. We'll place that one out of the way for the second. Try and clean the ink off my fingers and we'll bring in the piece that I've already done. So this time black ink. So this is our panther black ink. And we're going to add this one onto a piece of black card, which we've already got ahead and prepped, just to mat and layer that one together. And this panel, to give you some size ideas, is 3 inches by approximately 6 inches. And we're going to take this one and we're going to place it on top of that card that we've been creating. Just going off to, we'll go to this side. And then we're going to bring in a sentiment. Now I've gone ahead for this for speed and I've brought in our floral lace sentiment stamps. And I've gone for the thank you. And I've stamped that over the top of our thinking of you panels. Now again, I keep talking about these bits and I've not shown them to you. So in case you've not seen them, I have them here somewhere. Down here on my little table. Let me have a little look. Here we go. So we have got 5 different options currently. Congratulations, happy birthday, thinking of you, which is the one we're using currently, happy Halloween and happy Christmas. And with each one of these, you get 2 backing panels, which perfectly coordinate not only with the word that comes with them or the expression that comes with them, but can also be interchanged throughout the collection. So you might choose to put the happy birthday on the happy Halloween banner or the thinking of you banner with the happy Christmas wording. And I've told you this before, so sorry if I repeat myself, but this is the first 5 in this collection. There is another 15 coming in the coming months that will build up your library of sentiments and give you more options. But of course you could stamp the floral sentiments stamp set over the top of them, or the Christmas sentiment stamp sets if you prefer, or use the expressions which come in with the stamp sets that of course are on with the roses and bits like that. And that creates our 3rd card. Very simple, very easy, very monochromatic, very simple, without too much hassle, but playing with a texture base, our lace stamp, our floral wishes sentiment stamp, just to create that style, of course, again with our melody stamp as well. Now, let's have a little look. I see we've got questions. What's Pete been missing? I say that. I've got poor Pete rabbiting through a box in the corner. So I need more. I need a little army to keep up with this. I often say this. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It certainly takes a village to create what goes on here at Jamie Rodgers Crafts. It does though, doesn't it? Yeah, I've said that on a couple of lives. What, the it takes a village to raise a child, or the have you never heard that? Oh, tell me in the comments. That is a thing, isn't it? Yeah, it takes a village to raise a child. I always think that's a lovely expression because it's true, isn't it? And as a family, you know, we all help out with our nieces, nephews, grandchildren. Yeah, so to me, but I feel we're very much the same. We need a little army, and we have a great team around us. Maxine, Jamie, can I just say thank you for your hard work? You are such an inspiration. Oh, I have a few receipts from Craftmania that you have signed and I have kept. Oh, I love the personal touch from your shop. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't often get called in to do orders or to do anything like that because I'm kind of dangerous when I enter the warehouse, aren't I, Pete? In many different formats. So if you've got one that I've signed, it usually means that there was chaos going on and I've been the last resort to be called in and try and help. But it's lovely to know you save them and you hold them, and thank you, because that's really lovely to hear.
Sorry, Joe asked a question. Sorry, Mr. Joe. Will the stars from the Rodney release fit the stamp you used? So about the star line stencil?
I haven't tested that. but I will have a look and see if I have one, because that's a very good question. Do you know, I hadn't thought of this until earlier, and I went the other way with that option, and I'll just see if I've got one. Give me a second. You know, when we say we've bought out 180 odd products throughout the last few months, that's a big number, and it isn't until you start looking at it in stencil form do you realise how many stencils that is. So let me just do a bit of flicking. Pete's gone to see if he can find one in a packet for us, but I should have one here somewhere. I've got one, Pete. Sorry, yelling. That probably doesn't help the eardrums, does it? Now let's have a little look. Will our lattice fit over the top of that? So I tested the line stamps. That's where I was going. You know, the pinstripe line stamps we did. I never thought about it when we was designing it, and it wouldn't have worked, so it's not a problem. But I wondered if the pinstripe lines would fit with the hearts and the flowers, and they don't. So if that's a question anyone's got, they don't quite fit right. But I never remembered this one, so let's have a little look. If we take our stars, and let's try and put that onto some dark card for you. I've got a piece here somewhere, so you can hopefully see it as well. If we bring that in, is that going to match up? No, I don't think so. No, I'm not. I don't know how well you can see that, but it isn't quite matching in enough points. Now, being honest, it doesn't mean that you couldn't use it, because your middle points are going across the middles of them ones, which kind of looks nice and could create a different effect, but it's not going to fit, so you end up with a star in the middle of every point. See, can you see what I mean? Your middle point crosses with that middle star, but that star fits in the middle of the diamond. I'll have a play, not now, but I'll have a play and see what I can come up with that. But it doesn't fit perfectly. So the answer is kind of no, but kind of we might see ways in which we could use that and make that work in other ways. So I've been waffling for a very long time tonight, haven't I? And I apologise. Pete's chuckling, which means somebody said something funny. Come on, Pete.
Oh dear, Fran, bless you. Anything, Fran. The village and children sheep.
See, it's not a me thing. I have a lot of me things, but it's nice that it's not just a me thing. Fran is with me. Thank you, Fran. You've rescued me here. It's nice to know. It's funny. It's like my nan, and I never get this right. My nan always had an expression, and I must have heard it like a billion times, but I still can't remember it. But it was always about, my nan loved to gossip, and she would always say, I could tell you the whole story. We used to travel quite a lot with my grandparents. We took them on holiday quite a lot. We lived in Essex at the time, and we would take them to the arcades at Clacton or Southend most weekends. And I was always the little one that got stuck on the back seat between Nana and whoever else was with us, and then my parents were in the front. And my granddad, that would have been who was with us. Or what, I don't know, it doesn't matter. 5 of us in the car, me stuck in the middle. My nan used to smoke like a chimney. So the journeys were always quite good fun of trying to just be able to breathe, to be honest. But she would always be chatting off and on. And she had an expression about, between me and you and the garden gate. But I have a feeling a plumber or something come into it somewhere. There was always something about me, you and the garden gate whenever she'd tell you something juicy. But I can't remember that one. So we don't get that one, Pete, very often. But that's lovely though, isn't it? And it's great how we all collect these sort of little expressions and bits. And we chatted about this on one of our lives recently, how those expressions and bits change as you go around the country, don't they? And for people who are watching this abroad, like America, I know we have different accents and bits as you go through your states. But here in the UK, we don't go many miles for things to change quite dramatically. And we was up north the other day, weren't we? And what was the name of the shop? There was a shop, a baker's that we drove past, and it was called something different. And you said it's because up here they call their bread roll something else. Something butties. And it's just like that. We weren't many hours away from where we are, but they referred to it as something completely different. And I think we have a lot of that in very small areas, which I actually think is really charming and quite lovely. So I've been waffling for an hour and a half. I told Pete I wouldn't waffle much longer, but I have got another kit out. So should we have a go at one last demo, and then I promise I'm going to leave you in peace? Because I'm hoping that you've probably got lots you want to get back to, and possibly you've got a bit of a shopping list that you need to go and check out at one of our stockists, which would be lovely. If you have chose to purchase anything already, let us know in the comments what you've bought and where you've been buying it, because it'd be lovely to know what's heading your way. Pete is once again chuckling. So what are you chuckling about now? Yeah, see, I knew that would start it off. I knew people would know what I was on about with that one, but it's true. And Nan had this lovely expression. Has anyone hit the nail on the head? Is it going to come back to me? And does anyone include a plumber? Gate post, yeah, me, you, and the gate post or something. Maybe it's an Essex expression. Nan was very Essex. Actually, Nan was London, but moved to Essex, so it could have collected from there. But Nan was very East End London, and like 2 foot nothing and tiny and lots of hair. She was amazing, my Nan. Very, very sweet lady. So okay, on to the next demo. Let's have a little look. So I thought we would have a little play with our frame masks or stencils. Now, Zoe asked me this the other day, do I call it a mask or do I call it a stencil? And I said to her, do you know what? I think we can call them both, because we're kind of doing everything with this. It's not just that we're masking off one area or stenciling one area. We're kind of doing everything with these. These have got so many different twists and turns and ways we can use them that it isn't one thing, it's 10 things. So I'm going to get another piece of white card from poor Pete, and we'll have a little look at what we're going to do with this one. And I'm going to have a little look for one of our inks. Now, our quick dry ink pads, they are brilliant inks, and you can certainly use them to blend and you can certainly use them to stencil. But one thing I will tell you is they can dye your stencils. I'm never worried about if my stencil gets dyed or if my stamp doesn't come clean. And you probably have seen this when I've been flashing my stamps around quite a bit. I'm not somebody who's too worried about the colours that they end up, as long as it's not interfering with what I do with it next. Now, the ink might stain the stamp, it might stain the stencil, but it's not going to become reactive when you use it again after you've washed them. So it doesn't bother me. But if it bothers you, which is of course, we all have a different sort of thoughts on these kind of things. If you're worried about your stencils being a different colour, don't use the quick dry pigment inks. We have more inks coming. Another little clanger there just dropped of things that are coming. Pete shaking his head at the other end. But we have more inks coming that you'll be able to blend with shortly and not worry about the colours of your stencils. So we're going to use a blending brush. We've taken our circle, we've put it in place, we've masked off our area. We're going to load up our blending brush with ink, and we're going to go straight over the top of this to colour in our butterflies. Now, I've chosen a different stencil to the one which we are looking at on the finished project. On the finished project, we have used the Floral Burst stencil. Currently, I'm using the Kaleidoscope Butterfly Kaleidoscope? Elegant Butterfly Kaleidoscope stencil. We get there in the end. It just takes me a couple of turns, sorry. But we're going to blend over the top of this. And we can be more intent with this if we want to, but we don't actually need it to be too heavy. If you wanted to add texture paste to the top of this, like we did last time we looked at these stencils a couple of weeks ago, then you could bring in texture paste, put it over the top, squidgy it down as such with a big applicator or palette knife, and then remove both stencils together, and you're going to end up with a double stacked height of texture paste that looks really nice, because we've got the height of the donut and we've got the height of the stencil. If you don't wish to do that, then of course you can remove just this stencil and then you can add texture paste, but of course you haven't got that guide to close that area off. Now you might choose to do that with a clear texture paste, so these ones go like really nice and glossy, and then these ones look like little jelly sweets of glossiness over the blue. That could look really lovely and gives you a different option again. This part, we can of course ink on these, stamp with these, and by stamp I mean letterpress for our machines with them, but stamp onto them and then letterpress. There's so much we can do with them. We'll come back to more demos with them next time or in the future, I promise. But when we take this away, where we had our circle, our donut stencil in place, it means that we've just worked in that one area. And I really love that, because although we tell you constantly that we're bringing you large format stencils so that you can trim your panels down to wherever you want them to be, we're never going to bring you the same stencil in loads of different sizes, because that would be silly, because we'd just be building up more than you need. But if we can bring you a set of stencils, that means you can mask off every stencil you own and turn every stencil you own into a circle of multiple sizes or into a square of multiple sizes. To me, that's making more value out of the items you've already got, whether they're new ones that you see from us or ones you've already got from other brands. It gives you more variations with what you've already got and new ways to use them. So with this demo in mind, once we have created this part of it, we would bring in a little white gel pen and go to town with just adding in some dots and dashes and elements over the top of these butterflies. Now you might choose to add in, I'm going to do two sides different. You might wish to add in little wing marks or dots, stitch marks, rainbow patterns, whatever you want to. You could do this with gold gel pen or silver gel pen or whatever you want. It's, you know, it's just a way of adding more detail over the top of your stamped image. Now, of course, the darker the ink you use, the more whatever colour pen you're working with, unless it's a black pen, is going to show up more. So I've done this already. For speed, let's go ahead a little bit because I've been waffling for hours. So floral burst stencil, white gel pen marks, all of this done with a scalloped edge square with the pierced detail put into it to cut it out. So I'd stenciled it first, then cut it out so that I could choose where I wanted that to go in reference to where my circle was. Building up through our layers, so let's bring in the card here and build up from the base. We'll start off with our card blank, and this time we are looking at a card which is 1/4 under 7, so 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. The first layer we would put onto that would be the first step down. And again, I've used the same colour ink, so our Blue Emperor ink pad, and I've rubbed that around the edges so that I've got a perfect blue matte to go in with what we're going to be doing with our stencils. We're then going to bring in a white layer, stepping down again 1/4 inch, and we're going to put that over the top. And then we're going to bring in our next layer, which this time we've gone for a scallop square, and I've stamped over this with the Latin script stamp, and I've done my inking around the edges. Now we're not going to see the middle, but it's easier to stamp the whole stamp going across it so that you get the Latin running all the way around the edges. And we're going to place that down in the middle. Check that we've got a card that opens somewhere in the right direction. The amount of square cards I make isn't even funny when they come out the wrong way around. It happens far too often. And then we're going to bring in the panel we've been working on, and we're going to place that down into the middle of that panel. And then to finish this one off, we're going to go back to our floral lace sentiment stamps and our Thinking of You banner, and we're going to put that over the edge. Now, in contrast to the original, this one was done with, and I can never remember the name of it, so I'm going to see if I can find it. It's here somewhere. It was done with Uncharted Mariner, one of the Distress Oxide inks for this card, and this one was done with the Blue Emperor ink. So again, if you don't want it colour you stencil, then Distress Oxides are brilliant because they're water-based, so just come away no problem. But if you want a bolder, brighter colour, then that one might work for you. So that gives us 4 different demos and an introduction to the whole collection. Now, I'm hoping you've enjoyed this evening and that I haven't bored you thoroughly to tears. Before I go, if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments and I will do my best to answer them for you. I will put some photos up in the comments of these cards that I've made so you can see them. Obviously, I've told you this a few times, but just in case you've joined us late, all of the items are now available from our stockists, and we've got stockists all over the UK, and we've just recently added our first one in Australia. There are more stockists on an international basis coming soon, so keep an eye out for news on that. But it is now available from our stockists, and we would urge you to check out the stockist list that has been linked in the comments and find your favourite stockist and see if they've announced already that this has arrived. It literally launched at 7 PM this evening when we went live for tonight's Thursday night Natter. So if they haven't yet announced that they've got it, give them a little while. It might appear if it's your favourite and you want to make sure you get it from them and support them. Any questions from anybody that I've missed, Peter, or any questions that are coming in, please let me know before we say good night. Clever idea from Maureen, lovely, glad you enjoyed it. Fran, kaleidoscope is the name for a group of butterflies. Oh, thank you very much. Brilliant technique. That's very nice, Maxine. Maxine, you don't have to be silent. Don't ever worry about that. I know you've had a couple of birthday tipples, But, you know, we're happy to unleash the crazy here. You're amongst friends. Do not fear. You comment away. It's lovely to see. Deborah, losing your internet. That's not good. Hopefully it's or not hopefully it's nowhere. But hopefully it's just you, and we'll get you back up and running soon. Cards in wrong direction, cut in half and use a topper tag mount.
If you put the card the wrong way around, possibly.
Oh, yes. So when I make my square cards the wrong way round, yes, great idea. I just tend to cut when I get home, because it's usually on live TV, I do them terribly wrong. I tend to cut the front off and stick it on the front of another one and hope nobody ever notices. But they're really good ideas. I like them, thank you. They'll come in handy. That was the limit of my thought process. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Maureen. Lovely to have you with us. Glad you've enjoyed it, Maxine. Shopping list for cards. I can put a shopping list for you on the pictures that I put into the comments at the end, so that you can see the products that have been used, if that will help you. Anytime you see one of our cards somewhere and we haven't necessarily linked everything to it or told you, if you've got any questions, just let us know. We do, and between us and the design team, we create and share hundreds of posts across all of the different social media platforms every day, and we try our best to make sure that we tag and list and do everything everywhere. But every now and again things slip through the net, so if you don't know it, then please let us know and we'll always come back and help you. I'm so pleased you've all enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it, and if all goes to plan, I will be back with you next Thursday at 7 p.m. and I have a feeling we'll probably delve into this collection and do a couple more demos with you then as well. So by that time, hopefully some of you will have some of the items. If you come up with any questions by then I'll be on hand to answer them for you, and we'll share more inspiration and keep the ideas rolling. Thank you so much for joining me. It has really been a joy from both of us, and I'm really pleased that you were with us. Thank you again for your patience in sort of the delayed in releasing. We wish everybody at Create and Craft the best, and we are truly keeping our fingers crossed that they come back on air soon. And if they do, we are scheduled to be with them with this collection, if we stick to plan, if they stick to plan, on the day they come back. So again, you will hopefully see more inspiration on Create and Craft when they return to their airways, which, as I say, genuinely, me and Pete will both tell you, we are firmly keeping our fingers crossed that they come back. We love the Create and Craft family, and really are wishing them all the very best, along with everybody else that's been affected from what's been going on there recently. Thank you all, and I'm going to leave you in peace, and I will see you all next week if I don't see you before. Bye for now. Have a good evening.